Shabbos, Rashi cites this Chazal in his commentary in the portion of Bereshis. There's a verse, Oma Chizkiyo, Mai dichsiv mishamayim hishmato din. From heaven you made known the judgment, Eretz Yoreya v'Shaketo. The earth was fearful, and then it was tranquil. Im Yoreya lo v'Shaketo. If you're fearful, why are you tranquil? It's a different emotional state. Vim Shaketo lo Yoreya. And if you feel at ease, you're tranquil, why are you fearful? El betchilo Yoreya b'sov Shaketo. Initially, the earth was frightened, was fearful, and then it was put at ease. It became tranquil. Loma, Yoreya. Why initially was it fearful? Kedrei Shlokish, Dom Reish Shlokish, Maidich Sivayer Vayivoker Yom Hashishi. It was evening, it was morning, it was the sixth day. Whenever you have the hay, which is referred to as the hay Yediyah, it's the royal the. Hey Yisera Lomali. All the other days of creation says it was the first day, it was the evening, it was that. Second day, third day. It doesn't say the second or the third. So why, when it speaks about the sixth day, was the sixth day? When God created the world, it was a precondition to creation. And God said to creation, Im Yisrael Makabalan Torah Atem Iskaimin. If the Jewish people, they're agreeable to accept the Torah, then you continue to exist. Vim Lav, and if they don't agree to accept the Torah, then you revert back to pre-existence. So the world didn't know what was going to happen. Earth, all existence, creation didn't know what was going to be. Are the Jews going to accept the Torah or not? So initially it was Yoreya. Existence was frightened. When they said, Nasav Nishma, that confirmed its existence. Shoketa, it became tranquil. This is the meaning of, initially it was Yoreya, then it became Shoketa. Why was it contingent on the Jews accepting the Torah or not? It was mentioned in this Chazal many, many times, but it's against the first Rashi. Bereshis bara Elokim Eisa Shamayim v'Soretz. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. So what is Bereshis? So Chazal tell us, the Midrash tells us, Bishvil Reshis. For the sake of Reshis, of the chosen, God created heaven and earth. What is it? The chosen? The Torah is the ultimate chosen. For the sake of Torah, God created existence. What relevance does existence have to do with the Torah? Torah is the ultimate and spiritual. It's God's wisdom. Bishvil Yisroel Shnika Reshis. Who is the counterpart of Torah? Who's the people who are meant to have the Torah? Only Klal Yisrael. They are the only ones who have the capacity to process and to advance through the Torah. So you need Torah, we have, but you need a Jewish people. Everything is choice. If they choose to turn it down, God offered His Torah to the nations of the world. Every one of them rejected it. What happens if Chas v'Sholom, Klal Yisrael reject it? There's free choice. Then existence has no value. So why is Yoreya? Why was it contingent on that? Because the only nation who was destined, who was meant to have Torah, was only the Jewish people, Klal Yisrael, because we are the only ones who have the capacity to have relevance to that dimension of spirituality. If that's the case, so it's man matan Torah seinu. The Torah was given, there's a certain possessiveness here. It only has relevance to us. It has no relevance to any other nation. It's the giving of our Torah. Originally, when the world was created, it was meant to be given to us. It's man matan Torah seinu. It's possessive. As you would say, the Jews, they think it's theirs. It's not. We think it's theirs. It is ours. There's a Maral. The Maral explains. It says in Sosa Brocha, based on the verses, that originally God offered the Torah to all the nations of the world. Before He offered it to us, each one rejected it for his own reason. It was offered to Edom, to the Edomites, They said, Makosov bo, what does it say in Torah? Lo tirtzoch. Thou shalt not kill, murder. We have a blessing for our forefather. Achar b'chatichya. We live by the sword. Doesn't somehow conform with our lifestyle. With our whole perspective of life, they rejected it. Each one rejected it. Comes to Klal Yisrael, Nasa v'nishma. So the question is, if initially the Torah only has relevance to the Jewish people, as it says, Bereshis Bor Elokim, it was created for Yisrael Sheniku Reishis, the Jewish people are classified as the chosen, the choicest. So what even bother offering to the others? So Maral explains that factually, every nation in the world has no relevance to the spirituality of Torah. The capacity to be able to contain or process spirituality, they have no relevance to that because of the spiritual makeup. The neshama of a Jew and the neshama of a non-Jew, it's a different spiritual makeup. Although it's chel kelokam imal, it is godliness even in the non-Jew, but in terms of the dimension of that spiritual component, which we call the neshama, it's a different dimension. Torah only has relevance to that, the makeup, to the spiritual makeup of the Jewish soul. It's called Nishmas Yisrael. Nishmas Akum, the soul of a non-Jew, has no relevance to Torah. No relevance. So why did So why do you offer it to them? You know, do you take lahavdil, a dog, and you take him to the best haberdasher? Say, we're going to dress you like the best dressed dog. There's no such thing as dressing a dog. So if Torah itself only has relevance to the Jewish soul because of the dimension of spirituality, offering to the non-Jew, they have no relevance. So why was it offered? God knows the future. God knew they would reject it. It has no relevance. And they rejected because it has no relevance to them. And of course, each one rejected based on his own perception of its value. Because if they would have known its true value, they would have embraced it. But why weren't they able to appreciate its true value? Because they had no relevance to its true value. So why did God offer it? Because if he wouldn't have offered it, what would have been? They said, why did you offer it to the Jews? Why didn't you offer it to us? So God said, not a problem. You're welcome to have it. So therefore, he first went to the non-Jew, offered it to them, and each one rejected it. When all of them rejected, he says, to Klal Yisrael, do you want it? Not only don't we ask what's written it, Nasa v'nishma, we will do and we will listen. Now it's interesting. The Gemara tells us in Avodah Zorah at the end of time, when God is going to be doling out reward for those who have a portion of Torah, as it says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu masks Sefer Torah b'cheiko. Kavayocho, God will hold the Sefer in his lap, and he announces to the world, Kol mi yeshesh bo chelo bo yovel yitel schoro. Whoever has a share in the Torah should come and receive his rightful, his justful reward. Every nation comes. And everyone, after they come, they say, we rightfully have a share in Torah. God explains to every one of them, they have no relevance. So finally, when they realize they have no claim, so they say, you know something? You have a two-track system. The Jews, first of all, who said the Jews kept the Torah? So God says, I tested the fact. He says, is a father qualified to testify about a son? You're related to them. You're not qualified to testify. Let heaven and earth. Well, heaven and earth, we just said, if the Jews wouldn't have accepted the Torah, God would have brought existence to pre-existence. So again, they have a conflict of interest. So of course they're going to say the Jews kept the Torah. And one after another, finally, God gets them down to a point where they realize that they have no claim. Only the Jews have a rightful claim. So they come up with a last point and they say, you put a mountain over their heads. Why did you put a mountain over our heads? The Jews originally weren't agreeable to accept it. Kafam aleim har kagigas, as it says, they stood under the mountain. God put the mountain over their heads like a barrel. And he said to them, Im tekablu mutav, if you receive it, it'll be good for you. If not, sham take furaschem, you're going to be buried on the mountain. Why don't you put the mountain over our heads and compel us to accept it? This is after being offered to them, and they rejected it. We rejected it, but you should have put the mountain over our heads. So we see, so God just, he had to offer it to them. Because if initially he wouldn't have offered it to them, they definitely would have come with even a stronger claim. Why did you only offer it to the Jews? Why don't you offer it to us? So therefore they have no claim. But factually, they have no relevance to it. That's why they rejected it. So therefore, it's Zman Matan Torah Seinu. Initially, when the world was created, and the Nishvas Yisrael was created, God created the Jewish soul. It was only meant that Torah only has relevance to the Jew. So it's our Torah. The non-Jew has no relevance to Torah itself. It's interesting. The Gemara tells us, Moshe Rabbeinu says, to Klal Yisrael, Torah tzivah lanu Moshe, morasha kilas Yaakov. The Torah was commanded us by Moshe. It is the heritage of the congregation of Yaakov. Morasha kilas Yaakov. We know in Hebrew, the shin and the sin are interchangeable, just where you put the dot on top, whether it's pronounced like SH or S. So if you pronounce the shin like a sin, it would be morasha. It is the betrothed of Jacob. If a man, God forbid, engages with a married woman who's betrothed to another man, what is it considered? It's considered an act of adultery. So the Gemara says that if a non-Jew studies Torah, it's the equivalent of committing adultery. Because the Torah is the betrothed of the Jewish people. To that degree, they have no relevance to it. To that degree, it's something which is bonded with us. It's part of our essence. The soul cannot develop without that. It's like taking something which you have no relevance to. Therefore, it's morosa. Therefore, it says, a non-Jew who studies Torah is chayv misa. He's liable for the death penalty. As one who, God forbid, who commits adultery. He's liable for the death penalty, to that degree. So what, it's Zman Matan Torah Seinu. It's the Zman Matan Torah Seinu. It's interesting. Gemara discusses that initially, when Hashem wanted to give the Torah to Klal Yisrael at Sinai, the angels immediately came with a claim. Ma'enosh kisis karenu. Enosh, man, is not even worth mentioning. He's so fickle. He's so destined to fail. You're taking something which is splendoring God's glory and the ultimate. You're giving it to this fickle human being. That's what they claim. So Hashem says to Moshe, Anei Elohim. Moshe, respond. Tell them. So Moshe responded. Do you have a father? Do you have a mother? Were you ever in Egypt? Anoch Hashem Elokecha asher tzeischem me'eretz Mitzrayim. Were you ever in bondage? You were never in bondage. What relevance do you have to Torah? It says, is there lo sachmod? Is there envy among you? You have no relevance. It's clear you have no relevance. But it's Zman Matan Torah Seinu. It's Breishis Bora Lokim. B'shvil Yisrael Shnekarashis. You mean the angels didn't understand? They had no relevance. I mean, this question should have been originally. When God created the world, the angels were created on the second day of creation. They were on the second day of creation. They should have said, why did you create this existence? So what do you think Hashem said? B'shvil Yisrael Shnekarashis. Who's Yisrael? They're what? They're humans, human beings. Ma'enosh kisis karenu. They had to wait to Sinai to ask the question. Immediately. The Torah only has value, only has relevance to the Jewish people. We're the only, it's only compatible with us. It's not compatible with anyone else. And that's, as we're saying, that's why it's not in Torah Seinu. So eventually you must say that initially at the time of creation, the angels did not understand. The ultimate objective knew there was going to be a Jewish people. But the entity of Torah, which is lekach tov nosati lochem, the lekach, the ultimate commodity, was it going to be given to the Jewish people? Didn't know. Give an example. The Torah says, why was Avram so special? Ekev hasheshama bekoli. For 172 years of his life, he was Shama B'Kol, because the numerical value of Akev is 172. So the Midrash tells us, there's a question also in the Gemara, at what age did Avram recognize his maker? Was it the age of 3 or the age of 52? If it was at the age of 3, that means, and he lived till 175 years. So how many years did he recognize his maker? Akev. 172, Shama B'Koli. He heeded my voice. Torosoi, my Toros, my mitzvos. That's why he's special. Ekev. Avram Avinu, the Gemara tells us, kept the Torah in entirety before it was given, even Eruv Tchumen or Eruv Tavshilin. Even the rabbinic fences he kept. The angel should have said. Now, how did Avram come upon Torah? This is pre-Sinai. Now, how do we know what the Torah was? How does Moshe know what the Torah was? The answer is it was communicated to him. But in what context was it communicated to Moshe? It was communicated that he should transmit it as an obligation. It was communicated to Avram, but not as an obligation. It was not communicated as an obligation. It's referred to in the Gemara as Einu Mitzuva Oseh. He's not commanded. Despite not being commanded, he performs. The angels had no problem with that. So you know something? Bereshis bara Elokim. The world was created for Torah. B'shvil Yisrael shenikaracious, for the Jewish people. But maybe they're supposed to live within the context of Torah as Avram Avinu. Not as being commanded. So it's not being gifted to them. If it's being commanded, there's an exchange. You'll be my people, I will be your God. So there's an exchange here. What binds us? The gift of Torah. Giving the gift of Torah to, so that the angel said, that you give such an invaluable gift to what? To this fickle, limited, finite people. Your glory belongs in heaven. Okay, that's why until that moment, until Sinai, they weren't aware what was going to happen. Even though, in terms of what we just quoted, the Pasuk in Tehillim, Eretz Yoreya v'Sharketo, but the world was uneasy. It was not in a confident state. Only when did it become secure and tranquil when we said Nasa v'Nishma. But until then, it wasn't. So evidently, there were those aware that the Torah ultimately had to be given. Maybe they didn't know to who. Maybe the angels would have received it. They were meant to receive it. But you have to say that until that point, they believed, even though it's Bereshis, B'shvil Yisrael shenikaracious, but not as Mitzuv Oser, not as people being of obligation. Just say an interesting thing. There's a question which is asked. Avraham Avinu kept the Torah its entirety before it was given, but yet he didn't circumcise himself. Avraham Avinu was aware of circumcision. So if he kept the Torah its entirety, why did he circumcise himself? What's the reason? So one of the answers they give is because since Avraham Avinu ultimately knew that after he advances himself sufficiently spiritually, he will be commanded to circumcise himself. So if he would circumcise himself earlier, he won't be able to circumcise himself later. So he'll circumcise himself within a context as not being commanded. So it has less value. And he wanted to do the mitzvah at a more advanced value. So therefore he waited for the moment he should be commanded. He was aware of it. Because he wanted to maximize on that opportunity to be circumcised later rather than earlier. So Avraham Avinu knew the concept of mitzvah oseh. That means he would be mitzvah. Mitzvah will be, but that's circumcision. That's circumcision. What mitzvah means in the Torah itself, the Torah its entirety, the Jew must keep. Mila circumcision is not the Torah's entirety. Until we received the Torah at Sinai, what were we? What was Avraham Avinu's classification? He was a Ben Noach. He was a Noahite. He wasn't Yisrael. Avraham Avinu was not a Jew. He's the founding father. He's the founding father, patriarch of Klal Yisrael. But in terms of Yisrael, he was not Yisrael. So he was mitzvah v'oseh as a Noahite, but not as a Jew. Torah, that's what the angels had the issue with. So therefore, it's Zman Matan Torasenu. Could you imagine? A person is gifted, intelligent, capable, and he sits and wastes his life. So people say, what a waste, what a shame. The man is endowed with so much ability. The man is just wasting his life. HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates a world galaxies, beauty, infinite components, unbelievable world. What was it created for? The Navi says, L'chvodi barosiv. I created all this for my glory. L'chvodi barosiv. But what's my glory? Bishvil Torah shnikras reishis, bishvil Yisrael shnikras reishis. So for the Torah, that's called the chosen, and the Jewish people are called the choicest. That's what all this magnificent creation was created for. That's the only way I'm able to achieve my glory. What does the person do? He becomes a computer programmer. He becomes a Nobel Prize winner, laureate, and whatever it may be. But God says, L'chvodi barosiv. God says, Bereishis bara Elokim. For Bereishis, for Torah, and for the Jewish people. What is the capability of the Jewish people? How is it supposed to be expended in their spirituality? Nobody's saying you shouldn't do that. But what is the focus? Toros HaKeva. Asei Toros HaKeva Melach Tcharai. Nobel Prize, that's secondary. That's a means, that's not an end. The end is Torah. The end is what God wants. That's Bereishis bara Elokim. It's man Torah Seinu. It's like people, they say. David Melech says, Ashrei Yoshv Veisecho, O Jalucha Selo. Fortunate are those who dwell in your house. And everybody says, Ashrei. Say it 3 times a day. I'm told people do say it 3 times a day. Ashrei Yoshv Veisecho, O Jalucha Selo. Yet, so what is the most fortunate person? If he's a dweller in Beisecho, all of a sudden, 20 minutes into the prayer service, Rabbi, I have to leave early. I have a meeting. I have a meeting with a friend I haven't seen in 30 years. We're going to have a cup of coffee. Would you exchange it if you were in the middle of a meeting where you're going to close a deal worth $100 million? You're going to interrupt that to have a cup of coffee with a friend? But you just said, Ashrei Yoshv Veisecho. Fortunate is the person who dwells in your house. If you really believe you're so fortunate, where are you going? So evidently, what's it called? What's it referred to? That's called lip service. We say what we say, but we don't mean what we say. Because if you'd internalize truly what you said, you'd have to actually tear yourself out of the location. You'd have to extricate yourself. Otherwise, you're not leaving so quickly. The same thing. So we all believe, without a question, Bereishis bara Elokim, Bishvil Yisrael shnikras reishis, Bishvil Torah shnikras reishis. It's true. That is the objective. That's purpose. But what's our priorities? That's another discussion. That's another discussion. You know, Rabbi Sosalant always used to say, the furthest distance in existence is from the mind to the heart. We're not talking about the physical distance. But to connect the two, it's like connecting worlds. We say things, we believe in things, but the question is, what is our reality? The reality is based upon the level of internalization. If you integrate it into your emotion, into your value system, then it's another level. Kehem chayenu v'orach yomeinu. We say it every night. The bracha before Kriya Shema. Kehem chayenu v'orach. It's our life. It's the length of our days. Do you do life or do you live life? Well, I'm going to do tefillin. I'm going to do matzah. You're going to do matzah. Do you do your life? It's something, you live it. Dorashab Simoi. V'shoshik dimu Yisrael nase linishma. When the Jews had predicated the nase before the nishma, we will do and then we will listen. Bo shishim ribo shel malachei ashores v'kol echad ve'echad b'Yisrael. 600,000 angels had come. There were 600,000 men above the age of 20. So each one had an angel sent to him. Kosher lo shnei kusorim. And each one tied a crown, 2 crowns onto each individual's. Echad keneged naseh, Ve'echod keneged nishma. One was to correspond to their expression of naseh, we will do, and the other one to correspond to we will listen. Kemet shechotu Yisrael. When we sinned, we failed with the Egel Azov. Yardu meyo ve'esrim ribo malchei chavola. God sent 1,200,000 across the angels. Upirkum. And they revoked it. Shenemar. Vayisnatzlu b'nei Yisrael es ejum. They forfeited their what? Their ornament. Their tachshit. Ejum means that what ornamented them. Mehar chorev. Omer avchome brachanina b'chorev tonu. They received it at chorev Yesinai. B'chorev porku. B'chorev tonu. They received a special distinction. Kedamorim b'chorev pork dechsivi isnatzu b'nei Yisrael. Omer Rabbi Yochanan v'kulan zochon Moshe v'notlon. And who received this spiritual distinction of 600,000 men, which is 1,200,000 crowns? Moshe received it. Moshe yikach es oel. So the commentators explained this was the basis of Korin or Ponov. What did Moshe radiate after the Chet Egel? Before the sin of the Egel, he didn't radiate. And the radiance was so intense, they couldn't look at his face. It was too overwhelming. This was the spiritual distinction that was removed from them, given to Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what it was. At the end of time, we're going to be able to recoup and receive in return that special spiritual distinction. Shenemar, uveduye Hashem yeshuvon. Those who are redeemed by God will return. Uvo tzion berino v'simchas olam al rosham. And the joy of existence will be upon their heads. Simcha shemi olam al rosham. The joy which initially they had will be returned to them on their heads. A crown you wear on your head. That's spirituality. There's an Orach Chaim HaKodesh in the portion of Zos HaBrocha. He explains that we say in the morning Tefillah, Amidah, Yismach Moshe Matnas Chelko. Moshe rejoiced with Matnas, with the gift of his portion. To Eved Neman Kurasalo, because he was a dedicated servant of Hashem. So he explains there that all the crowns that Moshe had received when we failed, and he received the special distinction which was the equivalent of the whole Jewish people in their entirety, every Shabbos, those levels are returned to every Jew. Every Jew has that returned to him. And despite that, Yisbach Moshe Medos Chelko. So Moshe is actually losing. It's being taken from Moshe and given back to us for Shabbos. Shabbos, it's returned to us. After Shabbos, Moshe is satisfied with his portion. Even though what he was given is being taken away. Yisbach Moshe Medos Chelko. He cites the Zohar. It's based on the Zohar. But why we have this special distinction? Why is it returned to us on Shabbos? We say, Osid Lovo, at the end of time, the distinction will be returned to us. What's the end of time? At the end of time, all evil will be annulled, be nullified from existence. If there's evil, evil unfortunately resonates within every one of us. Why does it resonate in us? It didn't resonate in Moshe. To any degree, Moshe Rabbeinu was totally negated to Hashem. You have to be a person who has a self, meaning you live for yourself, then we talk about evil. Moshe Rabbeinu was Nachnumah. Moshe was fully attached to God. If you cleave to God at that level, there is no Moshe as Moshe. Moshe is Eved Hashem. That's who Moshe is. If that's the case, even in a time of evil, he merits that distinction of Klal Yisrael. Therefore, at the end of time, when there won't be evil, it will be returned to each individual. Because the impurity which everyone has, at that time that impurity will not be there. What is Shabbos? Shabbos mein olam haba. Shabbos is a semi-experience of the world to come. Although we, as humans, we experience it as a physical experience, but factually it's a spiritual experience. That's the Neshama Yisera. We're endowed with an expanded level of spirituality. So because we have this advanced spirituality which goes beyond our normal capacity, so that it's appropriate that the two levels of distinction are returned to us every Shabbos. But once Vayinofash, Vayovad Nefesh Yisera, once the Nefesh Yisera, that expanded spirituality, reverts back to that ordinary spirituality, then again it removes itself. Because it's not appropriate in that particular context to have these levels of these crowns. And it's returned to Moshe Rabbeinu. It's a famous medrash at the beginning of Vayikro cites the pasuk, the verse in Tehillim, Baruch Hashem Alochov, blessed to Hashem are his angels, blessed is Hashem, Giborei Koach, the ones with enormous power, Osei Dvoro, they do his word, Lishma B'kol Dvoro. They do his word to hear the voice of his word. Baruch Hu Hashem Malochov, who is this referring to? Rav Huna b'shem Rabacha Omer, Elu Yisrael Shu Omer Giborei Koach, Osei Dvoro Lishma B'kol Dvoro, Shigdimu Asir Lishmiya. These are angels who did before hearing. Now, what does one need to embrace the will of God before even knowing the extent of the obligation? We all have a sense of our own interests. We need, we want our own amenities. When you say Nasa v'nishma, we didn't ask Makosov Bo. What is it about? Will it infringe on our freedoms? Will it infringe on our comforts? That wasn't even a question. We will do. But factually, do you know the extent of the obligation? It's irrelevant. We are negated to your will, regardless. Even if it means we're giving it away, totally. We're negated to you. Naseh. Now, what's an angel? An angel does not have bechira. An angel does not have free choice. So what is an angel? An angel is naseh. He does, committed to do whatever the will of God is. He just has to be informed. Now, what is the will of God? When we said naseh v'nishma, we actually express ourselves as angels. But factually, we do have free choice. We could have said ma kosav bo. We could have asked the question minimally. We didn't even ask the question. So when we expressed ourselves in that particular context, in what context were we behaving? No less than an angel. Although we're mortals, although we have an evil inclination, we behaved as if we have no evil inclination. Naseh, it's your will. But what's the extent of commitment? It's irrelevant. We're here to do your will, regardless of what the consequence of that is. Nishma. You just instruct us. We will follow your dictate. That's all. That's where we were at that level. So it's a negation. Now, after everything was said and done, we failed. We failed, as it says, Lachachachotu. We lost that special distinction. Now, the Torah says, regarding the fulfillment, Torah says, V'chai bohem. You should live by my Torah. So what's the inference? You should live by my Torah, not die. Not die by my Torah. It's a question of a life-threatening situation. One is permitted to violate the Torah, which is not a violation. That's your obligation. It supersedes the Torah if it's a question of life-threatening. What about if it's a question of the three cardinal sins? That's called Kiddush Hashem. You sanctify my name. A Jew must give his life. A Jew gives his life. What? Your life is nothing more precious than your life. You give your life, you don't exist. God says you must express your love for me, that even to give your life. So what is that? That's the context of Malach. But what about me? What about the infringement on my existence? Doesn't make a difference. You must give your life. Regardless. Even if you have to give it all away, you must give your life in these three areas. And what about if it's a Shas Hashmad, where they legislated and made decrees to uproot Judaism, even for a custom? They want you to alter a custom, you must give your life. What does that mean? I'm willing to give it all away for you. So although in other areas God says life-threatening supersedes, but in these areas not. But when we do that, what are we doing? What is that? The behavior of what? It's the behavior of an angel. That's nasa v'nishma. Osa dvora lishma b'kolo. Infringement, there's no such thing as an infringing on the angel's existence. The angel's purpose and value is only to do the will of God. When the Jew dies, al kiddush Hashem, what is he saying? My value is to die or to live only for your glory. So this is the ultimate. And that, what does Hashem say? When we said Nas v'nishma atzina, what did he say? Mi gilo rozeh lebonai. Who revealed this secret to my children? They're expressing themselves like angels. It's unheard of. It's not within human capacity. They superseded human capacity. It's beyond. It's interesting. And even after that, the angels still had a problem. They still had an issue. We already said Nasa v'nishma. We're mimicking their words, or even more than mimicking. It's not a mimicking. We're expressing ourselves as we really mean. But the answer is because the angels understood they're going to fail. They're going to fail with the Chet Egel. It is now an angel is consistent. Based on a verse an angel is classified as an omeid. A human being is a holich. An angel is stagnant. He's stationary. He is what, in the context that God creates him. There's no advancement, there's no regression. He has no. A human being, either we advance or we regress, one or the other. There's always movement. You do the right thing, you advance. You're supposed to do the right thing, you don't do the right thing, then you regress. Even for not doing the right thing. The angel saw that. It's true. Today, you speak like an angel. But an angel is not for the moment. An angel is a consistency. You're consistently the angel. He's fickle. It's not lasting. It doesn't have the lasting effect. If that's the case, it's a disgrace. How do you give your Torah to a being that ultimately will disgrace it? Because something of this dimension of holiness, lekach tov, how do you give your lekach tov to just ordinary human beings who are so fickle? It's interesting. We find, the Gemara tells us in Shabbos, Amr Shuban Levi, Moshe Olam Moshe Lamoro, when Moshe ascended to heaven, Amro, first of all, the angel said to God, Master of the universe, what is a mere mortal doing? He said to receive the Torah. Amru Lefon of Chamudo Genuzo, this precious object which is hidden away, Shegnuza Teisha Meos Vishivim Vabradoros, which is hidden away 974 generations. Kodim Shnivar Olam, before the world was created. Atom Vaksh Lit You want to give it to just a mere mortal? Ma'enish kisis kareno, uben odom kisis kedeno. He's not even worth mentioning or being acknowledged. Hashem Adoneinu Ma'adosh Shimcha B'chol Oretz Asher Tinohodcha Al Hashemayim. Allow your splendor to remain in heaven. Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe Herzlem Tshuva. Says to Moshe, respond. Answer them. Amar Lefani Bon Shalom Misyori Ani Shem Yisrfuni Behebel Shebefiyam. He's I'm concerned. I can't engage in a dialogue with them. I'm afraid they'll consume me with the vapor that comes out of their mouths. That's the degree of holiness. Omalo echos bekisei kvodi. To my heavenly throne, and you'll be able to respond. Cites a pasuk. Why was he protected? God spread the radiance of his presence and his cloud upon him. And therefore he was in this protected environment, that he would not be consumed by the vapor of the angel's speech. So the Maral cites an interesting midrash. It's in the Gevruras Hashem. It says, Moshe ascended to God. Moshe ascended to heaven to receive the Torah. They wanted to harm. They wanted to harm Moshe Rabbeinu. Osa Kodesh Baruch Klestorin Shel Porav Domel Avram. So God went and he formed Moshe's face that he should appear like Avram Avinu. So when the angels looked at Moshe, they thought it was Avram Avinu. When they saw Avram, they don't engage. Moshe, although Moshe is the ultimate, him they want to. But Avram they're not going to harm. So God formed his face that he should appear like, to look like Avram. So what is that? What's so special about Avram? It's Bishvil Schus Avram Moshe B'mchitza Malachim. Why was Moshe able to enter into the sphere and the proximity of angels? That was the merit of Avram. B'mneisha Avram Gomel Chesed Tov Labrios. Avram Avinu did acts of loving kindness, Gemilas Chesed, and he was good to mankind. Zeh Midas HaMalachim. It's phenomenal. This is the characteristic of angels. Why is Chesed the characteristic of angels? Shemashpim Atov. What is the function of an angel? God releases an energy, and they convert that energy, which God gives them the ability, and it evolves and manifests itself in existence. And every moment of existence exists due to this energy. So who are the transmitters of this energy? The angels. So they are mashpim. They bring chesed to the world. The world exists because they're angels. They're part of the process. What was Avram? So Avram and the angels had a common characteristic. They do chesed, and Avram does chesed. Aval Moshe nimtze pom shu kois. Moshe find there were times he became angry. Shimon no Amorim, when they started complaining about water, he said, "Listen, you rebellious people, ein ze midas hamalochim." But that's not the characteristic of angels. V'nikra Moshe ish Elokim. Moshe is quantified as the man of Elokim. That is, you don't tolerate any imperfection. If angels wouldn't tolerate imperfection, they wouldn't be in existence. Despite the imperfection, they transmit what they're meant to transmit, which is the world exists and continues to exist. So therefore, Hashem caused that the facial features of Moshe should appear to be Avram. A person who's really kind and giving and hospitable, he has such a warmth and gentleness exuding from him that he makes the guest feel wanted. Sometimes a person is a true host. Feels like he's doing a favor to his host, accepting his hospitality, the goodness that exudes from that person. They don't have an angry countenance. Time writes in the Avos Chesed, the Gemara tells us, it says, cites a verse, charity, tzedakah, is determined, the value of tzedakah. Charity doesn't have to be necessarily money. Accommodating a person's need, that's also charity. As it says, bein b'gufo, bein b'mamono. You could do a favor a person with your body, kind word, assist a person, advice, monetary. But it says that tzedakah is determined l'fi chesed shebo. It depends how you, the chesed that it's accompanied with. A person comes and asks you something, and you can be patient and dismiss him. Another person comes, you allow him to feel that you're interested in his plight, and you want to help him, and you're pained hearing what he says. That's tremendous chesed. So the charity, even more than the actual transfer of the means, it's in what context it's being transferred. Since l'fi chesed shebo, you reap according to the chesed that you do the what? That you do the tzedakah. There's no kas. Chesed is based on you. It expressed on the facial feature of the person. That's the meaning. Doesn't mean physically he looked. He had an appearance, as Avram's appearance was a person who wants to do for others, selflessly, indiscriminately. That was Avram. Chesed is indiscriminate. Deserving, undeserving, whatever you need is I accommodate your need. He would an objective. Avram Avinu had an objective. But in terms of worthy, not worthy, whatever your need may be, I'm there to accommodate your need. So that's the klestapon of Shel Avram Avinu. So it could be, when it says over here, that the angels wanted to harm him. Livgabo, so what did he do? He spread his cloud and his shechina upon him, and that protected him. What was the protection? So you could say he did this, somehow this spiritual insulation that they cannot harm him. Or you could say, as he's saying, as this Chazal, because his characteristic was not in sync with what they were, therefore they wouldn't tolerate it. Now it's interesting. Explained earlier, it's man matan Torah seinu. Why is it Torah seinu? So we explained, of course, initially, why did God create the world? Bishvul Yisrael Shnikras Reishis, Bishvul Torah Shnikras Reishis. So therefore, initially, from the beginning of creation, it was destined to be ours. So it's ours. No other nation has relevance to Torah. The angel said, what is Isha doing the money? So he says, to give to Torah. So they said, Manish kisif kareno, ben odom kisif kedeno. Man is so fickle. What relevance do they have to Torah? So Hashem says, Moshe haslem tshuva. Moshe, you respond. They asked God the question. They didn't ask Moshe the question. Hashem should have immediately said exactly what Moshe said. Why is it Moshe haslem tshuva? Hashem should have set them straight immediately. You have no relevance to it for the same reason that Moshe. But he says, no, Moshe haslem tshuva. So you can say one of two ways. We find the famous argument between Rebbe Lezer and the Chachomim, the famous Tanu Achnoi, whether they took this oven, they cut it into parts, which was contaminated, they reconstructed it. Rebbe Lezer held that it was what? That it's considered a new oven. Therefore, any food items that are processed in that oven or baked in the oven, cooked in that oven, are not contaminated. The Chum disagreed. It's the same oven being reconstructed, it's contaminated. And Rebbe Lezer, although the majority were against him, he would not in any way retract his decision. Finally, a Baskol comes out and says, Halacha Rebbe Lezer. So God himself is saying, we rule like Rebbe Lezer. Ahmad Rebbe Shua Raglov, Rebbe Shua, who was a contemporary of Rebbe Lezer, says, Lo b'shamayim hi. Torah is not in heaven. It was given to mankind to be processed within the human intellect, within the protocols that were given at Sinai. Yud Gimel Midrash HaTorah Nidreshes. Torah says, Acharab Lahatos. The majority says, disagrees Rebbe Lezer, therefore Lo b'shamayim hi. It's not for God to decide. Now, when was it first established, Lo b'shamayim hi? Moshe Haslem Tshuva. If God would answer it, this is like the Baskol. It's Lo b'shamayim hi. Moshe Haslem Tshuva. But we say it differently, as we're just saying. When we received, whose Torah we received? Of course, it's God's. But who was it meant and destined to be whose? It's ours. Initially, when it was brought into existence, it was meant for us, not for anybody else. So who should be the one to respond? Hashem or we should respond? It's rightfully ours. Therefore, Hashem says, when they asked Hashem the question, he says, Moshe, Hashem tshuva. It's your response. You have to, because it's yours. That was the confirmation that was yours. That was Moshe. So Lo B'Shamayim, why is it Lo B'Shamayim? Because it's Man Matan Torah Seinu. Because it's Bereshis Bara Elokim. Because the world, when originally was created, it was created for Torah and for Yisroel Shnikarashis. Therefore, it's rightfully ours. So who should be the one who should make the claim? It should be Moshe, who represents the Klal Yisrael.